Good morning, traders. I'm Emily Vani, the CEO of the Investment Banking Institute and your host here at NewsWare's Trade Talk. Joining me is trading anchor Bill Olson, who brings more than 30 years of institutional trading experience to our program. At Trade Talk, we provide the facts, themes, and trading ideas for the day ahead. Today is Wednesday, August 21st. Investors await the Fed meeting minutes due out today, and this is ahead of comments expected from Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell on Friday at the Jackson Hole Economic Symposium. Wall Street is coming off a losing session yesterday. The Dow gave up 61 points, or 0.16%. The S&P 500 lost 11 points, or 0.2%. The NASDAQ dropped 59 points, or 0.33%. Bill, let's get into today's action with what is happening in the markets this morning.
Yes, good morning, Emily. I'm watching the S&Ps. The S&Ps are higher. We're up 0.12%. That's over a tenth of 1%. That's positive, And what's really pushing the market higher today is a host of earnings reports that have just recently been released last night and this morning. Toll Brothers and Keysight delivered solid earnings beats last night. This morning, Target and ADI and TJ Maxx all are higher after earnings beats. And, after the bell today, we got Snowflake, Algiant, Zoom, Urban Outfitters. They're all coming out. And then tomorrow morning, we got NetEase, BIDU, BJ Stores, and Advanced Auto Parts. They're scheduled to report. One of the big stories that hit last night was on JD.com. Walmart is indicating that it's going to be selling its $3.6 billion stake in JD.com. Good for Walmart, bad for JD. Another key report that's picking up a lot of attention is this from the BLS on labor revisions. This big labor revision is expected when they release their report this morning at 10 a.m. It's a backward-looking report, so we'll have to see if this causes any, fluctuations in the market. But it's a little bit something to be cautious on. And then, of course, you get the Fed meeting minutes coming out this afternoon. That's going to be one of the big key economic reports for the week. Then, we got to take a look at what's happening overseas. And let's start off with Germany, the DAX. The DAX is up 106 points, or 0.58%. You're seeing some strength in autos and tech. FTSE's up 19 points, or 0.23%. It's basic resourcing. Basic resourcing stocks are moving higher. The CAC is up 37 points, or 0.5%. That's all good. Then we're looking last night in Asia. The Nikkei did drop 111 points, or 0.29%. The yen strength, causes Japanese equities to weaken. So that was a big, that was something that was being watched. Hong Kong, the Hang Seng dropped 120 points. That's 0.69%, 0.7%. Shanghai dropped 0.35%. In Hong Kong, we saw weakness in financials and property stocks and biotech stocks. Financial stocks were really weak in the China market because their bank lending rates have declined to levels not seen in like 15 years. And that shows you the strength of their economy, which is really weakening. So, Shanghai, underneath the, 3,000 is, always bearish. And, that market's at 28.56. It could drop lower. We'll have to wait and see. But we got to keep our eyes on oil because oil is a key indicator of the market. And this morning, oil prices are flat to higher. You got WTI at $73.25. Brent is at $77.32. That is a wide spread. It's a $4 spread. It used to be a $10 spread. Right now, it's a $4 spread. Now, the key thing here today is the inventory report. Last night, we got the API report. That's American Petroleum Institute. They give out estimates. They came in and they showed that, according to their estimates, crude oil inventories rose 347 million barrels last week. Now, the estimates were calling for a 2.5 million barrel draw. So that's a big turnaround, and that's bearish for oil prices, but the key is going to be today when we get the EIA report later this morning. So we'll have to wait and see how that comes up. But that's what I have for you in terms of a morning market update report.
Bill, today, economic events do remain in focus with those meeting minutes, as you mentioned. We will get to economic events in just a moment, but we're going to turn first to earnings action because there's some big headlines here. Definitely a market driver this morning. Some major retailers have released. There's been some movement. So, Bill, what is going on in terms of earnings action today?
Yeah, well, we had a lot of retailers come in, but I think one of the key reports was Toll Brothers because that's a home builder and they showed strength. I mean, they came in with a beat of 29 cents on higher revenue. That stock is up over 1% this morning. That strength in their earnings shows that there's strength and good things happen in the home building market. That's a positive. Then we got Keysight Technologies, ticker KEY, Kilo, Edward, Yellow. They beat by 22 cents on higher revenue. That stock's up fractionally. It's up 0.3%. And then what else do we have? We got Target, ticker TGT, Tom Gray's Tom. They beat by 22 cents on higher revenue. You look at Target, it's up 14.54% this morning. Analog Devices, ADI, Apple David India, they beat by 7 cents on higher revenue. Analog Devices up about 0.7%. And then there's TJ Maxx, ticker TJX, Tom John X-Ray. They beat by 4 cents. They did that on higher revenue, Emily, and the stock's up 3.34% this morning. So that's all good. I mean, Macy's came in with a beat, but they didn't like that report. That stock's trading lower by 7%. I'll get more into that in a bit. In terms of upcoming earnings reports, LG and ticker A as an Apple, their EP, they're coming out this afternoon. Their EPS is $1.29. They're expected to move at 7.93%. Then we have Snowflake, ticker S&OW, Sam Nancy, Oscar William. They're also releasing after the bell. Their EPS is 15 cents. Expected move is 11.90%. And ticker SNPS, Sam Nancy Paul Sam. Their EPS is $3.26 with the expected move of 10.20% this afternoon, Emily.
And Bill, you mentioned TJX in there, and that was indeed your pick of the day yesterday. And by the end of the show, we're going to get a full recap on that. So stick with us. Now to the day's economic events, again, remaining in focus throughout this week. Really, investors looking for clues on this Fed rate hike debate. How much will it be? Will there be a rate hike in September? So the Fed meeting minutes will play a key role here, but give us a rundown of everything we should be watching when it comes to economic events.
Okay, well, at 10 a.m., we get the Atlanta Fed business inflation expectations, but then the next one at 10 a.m. is BLS labor market revisions. These revisions are going to be closely watched. I mean, estimates are looking for it to come in negative 600 to 1 million downward revision. So, it's a big number. We'll have to see how the market reacts to that. Then at 10:30 a.m., we get the EIA oil stockpiles report. At 2 a.m., we get the big one. We get the Fed meeting minutes. That's going to be interesting. That could be a market mover. We'll have to wait and see how the Fed's talking inside those Fed FOMC meetings. But I do want to point out that Fed Governor Michelle Baumann spoke yesterday, and man, she was hawkish regarding U.S. military policy. She emphasized her cautious approach towards interest rate cuts, highlighting the potential upside risks to inflation. I don't like that. That's she's going to be in the camp of not wanting to lower interest rates, which is why I really think we're only going to be doing 25 basis points because I don't think it's there's unity in the Fed right now in terms of doing cuts, and I think 50 basis points would signal that there is an immediate need to cut interest rates. There is something wrong with the economy. And I think a 50 basis point cut would actually be a negative for the markets because that would signal that their weakness is ahead. I do think there's weakness ahead, but I don't think we need to lower rates a half basis point. I think the number is going to be 25 basis points, but we're still a month away from that meeting. But right now we're looking, we're hearing from some of the Fed governors. And, the key report today will be the BLS employment revisions along with the Fed meeting minutes that are due out later today, Emily.
Bill, keeping an eye on all of that information using your NewsWare. So as soon as that information comes out, you're able to gather it because you have an economic alert set up. You also have alerts set up for Fed officials and their commentary, as you've mentioned before to us. You also set up for alerts for other types of data and information news like merger news, guidance news, shareholders meetings, buyback news. You keep track of other catalysts. You also track stocks grouped together like your FANG stocks and your Dow 30 stocks. So Bill, what else do you see is possibly moving the markets today?
Doing a quick data check. I'm looking at my Dow stocks. I got 24 higher. I got 4 lower and 2 change. I'm looking at my FANG stocks. You are seeing some strength in there. There's a little weakness in Netflix, but it had a big move yesterday, so I can forgive that. Google's trading a little lower, but everything else is trading higher. So that's kind of positive. When you look at some of the news behind the tape that's hitting this morning, Apple, UK regulators have decided to close its case against Apple and Google over the payment systems. Now, UK regulators on Google said that it would not be appropriate to accept the commitments that were offered by Google. So, you look at that, and you look at the stock, it's actually down 1.25%. I think that could turn, but we'll have to wait and see, how it trades later in the day. Now we're moving over to Dow Jones stocks, and we're looking at McDonald's. McDonald's is set to open up 200 restaurants in the UK and Ireland over the next 4 years. That stock's up, 0.36% this morning. We got Walmart, ticker WMT. Listen, the stock's up over 1% on, that sale of JD.com stock. That's just a positive for them. And, JD, on the other hand, they're going to have an issue because they're not likely to buy those shares back themselves, as they have already bought back $3 billion worth of stock. So they don't have that, level to walk out there and pick up the stock themselves. That's why, you're seeing the stock weaken so much. Do want to point out American Express, ticker AXP, is down about 1% this morning. It got hit with a downgrade by a big broker this morning, and that's really having an effect on the stock price because everything else is really showing some gains, but AXP trading lower, mainly due to a downgrade by a major broker. Okay, let's talk merger news. Hyatt Hotels, they're going to be acquiring Standard International, and it's like iconic hotel brands. Purchase price is around 150, 180 million. Okay, it's not bad. We're talking guidance news. We're talking Keysight Technologies, ticker KEYS. They see Q4 adjusted EPS coming in $1.53 to $1.59. Street estimates $1.54. We're talking Target TGT. They